In 2003. I don't even know how to say it, but my life changed in a matter of a couple of seconds, right? I went from somebody who had never gotten in trouble before to getting sentenced to 144 years. Nobody lost their life. Nobody was even physically harmed. But I was lost. I didn't know the legal system. My family didn't know it either. We didn't have the resources. We didn't have the ability to get the right type of attorney. Well, it happens every day. And that's why we're here now. We're here to tell the stories, the truths about what goes on behind those prison walls and those courtrooms, the fights that y'all don't see, that y'all don't know, things we've had to endure, things we've had to overcome, and the harsh reality of what we'll call the injustice system. Welcome to our world. Hear our stories. Hear our truths. Welcome to the voices.
Over with. We're on now. Even when you from Lawton, it's over with. Fuck who you is, nigga. Once a nigga take you off, you getting a stamp on your forehead, nigga. Especially if you get put on underneath cut though. The homies from the neighborhood, from the city to the 580s to the 405s, 918s, all that shit ain't nothing exempt. Neighborhood is neighborhood. Got this nigga tall and hard and bound.
Let me get out the way. Wait. Let me get out the way.
Neighborhood.
Peace to the planet. As always, thank you for joining the platform here on the Life Unit Inc. The social media side is dedicated to educating and empowering people in need, highlighting different organizations, etc. But also more specifically, the truth. Right there is a video clip. That story has already been reported on in the news. That's why I felt comfortable showing that video clip of Mr. Carlos Ross. Why do I post content like that occasionally, especially when we're going into certain conversations? Because for some of us, we're not just audible, or some of us are more than audible learners. We have to see visual. The purpose of these conversations, or anything that you see on any of my content, any of the platforms, is to cause an impact. We want you to think. We want you to feel as much as possible and understand exactly what goes on behind those bars. There's two fights going on right now when it comes to criminal justice reform. The one obviously is to bring people home, but the other one is to make sure that people still have safety while they're incarcerated and still can eat, and have hygiene and medical treatment, because everybody does not make it home. In that case, unfortunately, it happens often in prison. Depending on how you move and who you associate yourself with and the decisions that you make after, can dictate the type of journey you will have in prison. To anybody young that hasn't went into prison yet, doesn't have to go to prison or jail. Anybody that may be thinking about the gang lifestyle, street lifestyle, etc., watch that video again. Go back to the top of it, to the top of this video, and watch that again, because I'm pretty sure that gentleman right there, that man did not anticipate being in that place when he first started his journey. And that's it. Prayers to him, Prayers to everybody, really. Prison creates monsters in some cases, and for some, those that are rehabilitated. And that's all I got to say about that, man. We got to do better inside and out. Today, getting into the conversation, and our guest for this evening. I've had a couple conversations with her. She has Georgia ties, which I'm always excited. I'm always excited to highlight, the VA fam, the Alabama fam, Oklahoma, the different states, different advocates, different organizations that have been tapping in with the platform. But I'm definitely excited whenever I can bring people from Georgia on, because that's where I'm at. I'm down here in Atlanta myself. Georgia is a different type of landscape, I can tell you. You are definitely in the deep South here. When you look at law or just the General Assembly as a whole right now, I can tell you that laws are not set up for certain types of people to succeed. Even right now in the hair industry, this is totally out. They are literally getting ready to pass a law trying to take away licensure, potentially in the state of Georgia, which is crazy. They've done it in other states. But man, I don't want to go into a whole spiel. But this is one of these states where they don't necessarily take us into consideration. So it's imperative that we have freedom fighters in different organizations and people down here that are on the front line. And today I'm bringing on somebody that, after a few conversations, I feel like I've known for quite some time, even though I haven't. Just get to know her. The first time I believe we were at an event, may have crossed paths. I forgot the event was sponsored, I believe by Pod or POD. I forgot. Excuse me, because I'm horrible with names. But yeah, she's here today. And without further ado, advocate, freedom fighter, and more, Miss Ana Quinoñes. How you doing, Ana?
Hey, I'm doing good. And first and foremost, I'd like to thank you for having me on your platform, Christopher. First of all, I want to say that's my first time seeing that video. Wow.
Yeah.
Because as an activist, I fight both ways. More, it seems like now, getting them home. But at the beginning, when I started doing my advocating, that's how it started out, changing them from one prison to another, making sure that their living conditions were good. And I still fight for that to this day. So I wanted to first thank you for having me here, because I wanted to say that video just completely shocked me. I'm like, so anyways, a little about myself. So I started this I say mission 19 years ago when I delivered my son Nathaniel. Nathaniel has special needs, and I did meet you at the PODS event. I meant to tell you.
It was right.
Yeah, it was PODS, and they have another event coming up, and I'll be there also for that event. But so then I turn around and I go. I start advocating for my son. Autism, all these secrets nobody wanted to tell you, of an IEP, how to get certain resources for your child. And at the time, as a single mom, it was hard. I didn't have the money, I didn't have the skills, I didn't have the things I have now. So then, long story short, things got better throughout the years, and my children got older. Nathaniel's now a junior, almost a senior. Well, he graduates in December, but I don't have children. So about 6 years ago, I started with another organization. No, that was about more 7 or 8 years ago, with another organization, human rights organization. And as I did it with them, then there were certain things that I wanted that I saw that can be done differently, right? Meaning just my taste and things. So anyways, and I still collaborate with that organization. So it's nothing personal, just,
Right.
went different ways. So long story short, I turn around and I start doing human rights, but I started getting into it because they did more the criminal and all that stuff. Well, I wanted to get more into it for special needs and the disabled and the elderly. And that's not how it turned out. My first call was from a prison in Alabama, an offender that needed to be moved ASAP or he was about to die. that was my first call. Within 10 hours, I managed to get him home or get him transferred to a different prison, and hopefully he's still alive. To the best of my knowledge, he is. And that's how it started. From there on, I guess they started spreading the word, and I get lifers now. That's what I do. Majority are life sentences that I get cases.
I want to ask you right there because we kind of seen the evolution. You're speaking about your son, kind of sparking that, looking for resources and just information when it comes to autism, and then that transferred into seeing other places where you can fight for people. And now we're talking about advocacy when it comes to criminal justice and getting people home. I don't know if I've ever asked anybody this question in this direct way. Can you explain to
Okay.
somebody what life actually is like for an advocate? Because I don't even want to get into the fact that most of us aren't
Oh,
paid. Most of us are
oh,
we still got lives. But go in your words, please. Just explain to everybody what it's like for the life of an advocate that's fighting potentially for your loved one, not people that we even know a lot of times firsthand.
yeah. So and when you say that from the autism perspective, correct?
Well,
Or you
just that,
just say that as an act of
just I don't
altogether?
think. Yeah, I think a lot of times for me, when it comes to
Mhm,
advocacy, I've become recently even more so now that I kind of read
mhm.
back up. It gets overwhelming. The emails, the texts. There's one
It does.
person, one of me. You know, certain amount of hours. I
And
got other
20
stuff
of
going
me.
on. Right.
Yeah,
Different emotions, different stresses,
yeah,
dealing with different like in your own
absolutely.
words, what is it like to be a criminal justice reform advocate or
Ooh.
somebody a freedom fighter?
So, and I'll say this, Chris, dealing with advocacy in the avenue that I deal with prison reform altogether and getting them home. A life sentence is not the type of a case you take as a joke. We'll say it that way. Or you can't play with it, right? You got to sit there and really focus and get them home. Get them
Yeah.
home. So, right, my goal is let me get you home. And then, especially if I said, I see where a mistake was made, or I see where an injustice was made. And it is draining. It is draining, guys. Like sometimes I'll get from one person 20 calls back to back, and it's like, I really want to get back with you, but I'm dealing with five other people over here. Or I have my personal things at home. I have a husband. I have my family at home. I have things that I deal with at home. I can't just let everything go too. So it's like you got to juggle, right? But it is draining. If there's a word for advocacy, because you're loved, you're hated, you're some of everybody, and some people just love you, and you're like a hero to them. Others hate you for the same reason for what you do, and it's draining. It can be where right now, after I finish the cases we're going to talk about, I'm going on vacation.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, in Puerto Rico.
Yeah. Yeah. Somewhere with sand and you brought up a valid point that I really haven't heard. We take hits. Like everybody's not in support of what we do. When it comes to the
Yeah.
advocacy side, when it comes to anybody that's fighting for policy or change, when you're fighting for the quote unquote in their eyes, the bad guy, again, in their eyes,
Mhm.
you're
Yeah.
not good to them. So I'm glad you touched on that because we take hits from all areas. What are some things,
We
and
should.
we're getting ready to transition specifically into some names and some cases. Um, but what are some things that you're seeing now, you're dealing with now, whether it's with these cases that you want to specifically talk about today, because you kind of already just reached that right there.
Some of the things that we're dealing with, like, well, okay, so um, explain what you're asking.
Cases. individuals
So
that you're
cases,
fighting
some
for
of
right now.
the cases. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So I want to start out with Brendan Deppa. Brendan Deppa is an 18-year-old autistic boy from, and I say boy because he's special needs and his mental capacity is a lot. Behavior is about a 4 or 5-year-old. Okay. So Brendan Deppa was, he's right now sitting in county jail at Flagler County, Florida. He's been sitting there for a year on $1 million bond. Why? Because Brendan had a meltdown and he had gotten a Nintendo Switch taken away. But the problem with him getting the Nintendo Switch taken away is if he would have just done what he did, that was really bad. And what he did was not good by any means. He did put his hands on his paraprofessional. But I will say this. There are also laws, federal laws, that prohibit a school district to not follow an IEP. There was rules in place that needed to be followed so that this didn't happen. One, his device not being allowed to be brought back into school. And it was. He just so happened to be in a group home because of COVID. There were some things that were off, as with all of us. And long story short, paraprofessional was not trained, certified. Neither was his teacher. So the paraprofessional was supposed to be certified just to be a gym teacher. How are you allowed to do one-on-one paraprofessional with a child who has ODD, ADHD, autism, other diagnoses, and is taking medications to be able to handle all of these difficulties? And there's no training, no nothing. And like I said, my heart goes out to the paraprofessional because what happened was not good to her.
Right.
And
Right.
by no means do we applaud what Brendan did.
Right.
However,
Right.
the IEP should have been followed.
Do you? I want to ask you that we talk a lot about mental health, things like that. We talk at times about the certain disabilities.
I think you just froze on me. I don't know if you're talking.
Mhm. Can you hear me now? Uh-oh. I think she might have went out. Can you hear me? Let's wait and see if she gets back in, guys. The question I was going to ask and I was going to pose to her is, I wonder how much they factored
I
in.
think so. Go ahead. I'm sorry. It seems like you're coming in and out, but I'm
Okay.
listening.
Yeah, the question I was going to ask is, do you think his mental health or quote unquote disability was even considered when it came to the bond and all that, or do you think they're just overriding it because of the situation?
Yeah, now I can hear you. I was about to get it from a different device.
Okay. Well, we're live. This is gonna happen. This happens sometimes, and I'm in the woods, so who knows? Can you hear me now, though?
I can.
Okay, got you. So I just wanted to ask: do you think how much they took into consideration his disabilities or mental health issues? Do you think they took any of that into consideration, and how often do you think that happens? Like, do you see it just as a whole when it comes to sentencing or bonds or anything like that?
Okay, so coincidentally, I just got an article today that children with autism are the most to get arrested and actually do time. And there is a judge right now, a judge or something, trying to change this in starting in Nevada. Okay, and I'm going to post the article in a little while. If you guys can, take the time and support this, because they don't really mean harm. My son is autistic. He's had his meltdowns. Okay, mental health is so darn important, and it's just the cause root of so many of our problems, and we don't focus on it enough. If I could say it like that, we don't focus on it enough, and we don't get it at the grain and just help these people for what it is. I want to also add that I did go to the court date. Brendan signed a no contest plea in the state of Florida. Brendan did not understand what he was signing. I have the recording because in the state of Florida, it's legal to record in the court. When I sat there, he didn't know what he recorded. Brendan is facing 30 years prison time, a life sentence over what he did. And again, because the IEP wasn't followed. So first we need to blame the school district, then the adults. And of course, he needs some accountability, but he's already sat in there for a year. You know?
Yeah, that's not right. I'm just thinking of it all together because it did. Hmm? Can you hear me?
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just saying it's unfortunate because obviously you can tell he wasn't competent. He's not competent. And that's the issue. You have to stand competent in order to go to trial. So that's interesting how they just, at times they override their own, I guess, procedure. What are some other things or takeaways from his case that people need to know? Because I know sometimes people think like, oh, this can't happen to me, or this doesn't necessarily affect something I could be dealing with. But why should somebody be in support? Obvious. Well, I know to me, I have obvious, but in your words, in support of him getting coming home.
So for me, there was, and if you just Google the name on Facebook, Brendan Deppa, there was a lot of bad press. I had to actually go on there and actually educate people. A lot of it, I just think, okay. When I think of that case, it's frustrating because this can happen to any of you guys. Like, don't think because it's Brendan and he's disabled, because you might sometime at one point end up with a special needs niece, nephew, grandson, granddaughter, child, whatever, sibling. And this can hit home. What happens then? What happens then? Does the table changes? Because since I started advocating for Brendan, I've had family after family come to me. My son is doing 15 years. My son is doing 20 years. And because they got upset and they got violent. And anybody who understands autism knows that when they have a meltdown, there's certain things that will escalate to that. However, if there's an IEP or legal document in place, have to follow it. Because if you don't follow it, then we didn't follow the rules. So if you follow the rules, how are we holding him accountable?
Yeah.
Completely. He needs some accountability, but not 30 years. That's right. A long time.
Right. Somebody asked, what is IEP? What is it? And that was
so an
Charles.
IEP is an individualized. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just saying Charles A. Brown.
An IEP is an individualized. An IEP is an individualized educational plan, and they give this when you have certain disabilities in the educational department of school, the public school system. If you look it up under Rights Law, it should be followed by all means because it's federal guidelines. And I think it was something that was enacted, and Mika, you can correct me, in the 1960s, if I remember correctly, under Rights Law. And it was because these IEPs were not being followed. They still don't follow them the way that they should, but they've gotten a lot better with them. But the fact that he's about to do prison time because the IEP wasn't followed is never a good thing. So.
Yeah, that should definitely be contestable. I don't want to necessarily take away emphasis on him. And I want to make sure before we bring this conversation to a close, everybody knows how to contact you so they can support him, Brandon Deppa. But I know you want to speak about another individual as well, in his case.
Okay, so you want me to go ahead with that one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So the next client I want to talk about, and everybody knows this is my poster case. This is the case that I took at a 26-year sentence. This was a life sentence for malice murder in the state of Georgia. You guys will be in shock at how many people are sitting in prison in the state of Georgia and they're not paroling them. And they're not even going back and reviewing these cases. They're actually changing the laws to make it harder for them to go back and get these cases reviewed or resentenced. So my state and my case is David Scott. David M. The page David M. Scott, Justice for David M. Scott II. David Scott, I took his case at 26 years. It took me almost 2 years to speak to a DA, to get anybody to hear anything on this case. I would go to activists. I would turn to them and I'd be like, look, listen, this client I really feel he's innocent. I must admit, Charles, Mika, Tawanda, shout out to all of you guys, Peter Brown, Leonard Jones. I didn't do this by myself. The Scott family, I did not do this by myself. With help from other activists, we all put our heads together and we're able to get something going on. And I was able to speak to the DA and we're getting him home. We're pending a court date very soon on an extraordinary motion for a new trial. And congratulations, Mr. Scott. I'm happy you're finally getting the justice that you deserve, because to sit in prison for now it's 29 years. This year became 29 years is a very, very, very long time. Now, what they're going to do in that extraordinary motion for new trial, I don't know. And as an advocate, I cannot speak any further on air about it. But I will keep you guys posted on what happens after. But like I said, Mr. Scott, you go in as 18, 19 years old, and you're now almost 50. That's a long time. That's a long time, and you're sitting there on a murder. And if anybody knows about the case, he got stabbed in the neck by a white guy who was KKK and wanted to get killed by a black man. So he was charged with malice murder when he defended himself for getting shanked in the neck. So, justice is finally coming for you, Mr. Scott. And like I said, all I ask my clients for is let me have a barbecue at your house when you come home. You're welcome home. Barbecue. So, and that's pretty much, the case with Mr. Scott. After that, we're working some things out with the Department of Corrections because he had some other things that were pending, but we feel confident that Mr. Scott will be home in 2024.
And that's amazing. Salute to you and the rest of the advocates, like you said. It's so important that we band together. More can always be done when we stand together, stand together. We can network better, we can brainstorm better and strategize and all these things. So again, salute to you and everyone else. And doing it in Georgia, I gotta emphasize, guys, I'm a Chicago guy and that got locked up in VA. I'm former military, in Cali and North, different places. But let me tell you, I love Atlanta for the business. You can business, it'll get you right. But man, one false move out here. And I thought it was funny coming to Georgia in my mind, coming to Atlanta, it being a black city, leaving Virginia. I thought, I'm coming somewhere where I'm good to go. But man, no, I'm not. And it is. But like I said, it's different out here, and you can get lost in the matrix. You touched on parole. One of the major parole issues down here is that they don't even review. They just randomly review. There's really no rhyme or reason to the guys that are coming. We want to see people come home, but it's kind of funny how the review process and everything else. And we actually got to have somebody up here to speak more specifically about that as well. Somebody just said, "Oh yeah, I'm a Jersey girl fighting for freedom down south." True indeed. Did you want to touch on? Somebody brought up Aaron Banks.
Yes. So, and Mika, shout out to Mika. Thank you, Mika, because we do collaborate as well on cases. It's just so many good activists I work with. I never want to miss anybody, and I'm sorry if I did miss anybody because it's just so much to do. But Aaron Banks. Aaron Banks was a minor. This was Mika brought me this case. We're collaborating together as her organization and We See You Human Justice Organization. We're collaborating together to get him home. He just got denied parole. Meanwhile, the other co-defendants in this case are all either at the governor's mansion or their home. Might I add that he was the only Black guy involved in the case. Everyone else was white. The problem with this is he wasn't the one that pulled the trigger, and he's the one that done the most time. We're looking at his record, almost a clear record, and Mika can attest to this. We've done background on him. He sent letters. His family sent letters. We've sent letters. We just couldn't believe he still got denied parole. It was almost like, how do you still get denied parole? And the thing was, same thing as always for all of them. You haven't done enough time for your crime. He did get set off for only a year, which we think is a good thing, because it is my understanding that if in the state of Georgia, anything over 5 years is not good, it starts going down year by year until they parole you out. So they kind of wash you out. But he wasn't the shooter. See, that's what she's saying. He wasn't the shooter. He wasn't. So you were just an accessory there to the crime. But because you were the only Black guy, and I'm going to say how it is, you're the one doing the most time. And we see this over and over and over again in the state of Georgia. And it's ridiculous. I do want Aaron Banks and his family to know that We See You, along with Mika and her organization, we stand behind you, and we will do whatever it takes. And I'll continue doing whatever interviews, as well as Mika, to get the word out there and get you home, because, you know, that's one of my main fights right now. Minors that are doing these life sentences. What is a life sentence? How much? What are you going to keep them there till they're 60 and they've been there since they were 14? They didn't learn any skills. What are you doing?
Yeah.
So we just want to get them home. And I mean, that's one of the big cases that I really advocate for, because like I said, he's the minor, you know, and I got a few more, but, you know, I'll go on them one by one. And it is very unconstitutional, Mika. And, you know, we're going to fight to change these laws. After I close the Scott file and two other files, we are going to work now to change these laws, and I'm going to unite with as many advocates as possible.
Indeed. Shout out Mika. Me and Mika worked together too. Last year we worked together quite a few times. So shout out to Mika. And I want to say something about his case.
Yeah.
The reason you should support it is this: if you're a parent, an uncle, an aunt, if you got a child in your life, if you got somebody that's young, you should support cases like this, because it challenges a corrupt system or a corrupt way of ruling. And the reason is, right, your child could be joyriding or, you know, at school in a situation, and man, it could go left. And next thing you know, we've got a situation right now in Georgia. There was a fight at the school. One of the kids he had nothing to do with it. He was defending his girlfriend, and now he's got a malicious word. Well, I say malicious woman from VA. I believe it's the same premise, and he was defending his girlfriend. And they broke out fighting, and what is he supposed to do? And now he's facing real prison time. And this is a kid that was getting ready to go to school and, you know, college, and hopefully everything still works out, because there's some stuff going on. But don't think that bad things don't happen to good kids, good people.
That's right.
Yeah, literally, you can leave your house and just, you know, somebody could just be in a bad mood, and you could be in a situation, man. And depending on how it's perceived by the police officer that's on site,
by the public, by the police officer, all of it is just a matter of timing. Yeah.
Perception, man. Perception will cause you to lose time from your life. You know, even if you get to come home, you're still missing months or a year or day, you know, that you don't get
That's
back.
right.
So please support.
That's right.
Before we bring this, because we're heading towards the close, I want you to speak about your event um that you're having here in Georgia that you're planning, if you want to. I
Yeah.
don't mean to.
Yes. Thank you for reminding me. Thank you. And so, and I wanted to give Chris Willers and his wife a shout out, man, because they're doing, if you guys follow his page, they're doing wonderful things out there for the public, and especially people that are getting out of prison and stuff and starting their life over, man. You know, round of applause to y'all, man. Shout out to y'all. Good job. So what I'm doing, so I challenge each and every one of you guys to reach out to my inbox, reach out wherever, to Chris, to Mika, to whoever, and or tag me on posts and let me know what ex-offender, ex-inmate, ex-loved one, whatever you want to call them, has completely changed their life, has came out of prison and is just doing the right thing. Let's change the perspective, right? Let's change how it's going to go. So what I'm having is the first annual Reentry Awards, where we are acknowledging people who have completely changed their lives. On that night, I want to go ahead and acknowledge a few activists, and that will be just the beginning. It'll be We See You together with React, because it was something that we had decided together, and so I'm excited about it. Be on the lookout for it. We're looking at August, if not by December. We're just panning out some final things, but I am so excited, and please send them nominations because I've gotten some pretty good ones. I'm looking and I'm like, man, even I can't wait to see what this is going to look like next year, because it's awesome, the people they have nominated thus far.
Yeah, and it's an amazing thing. I would say, like, anybody that's like, well, why would we honor returning citizens? Or I got to go to an event. Shout out to my sister Monique Yesenia. She started hosting them a few years back in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And when I got honored for Principal of the Year, and man, I was crying. Everybody was crying. It was good to be in a room. It wasn't even about me getting an award. It was just like being like re-energized, like being around people that was fighting and listening to listening to their story, because everybody got to speak, and you're like, yo, you going through and you still fought and you still doing, and man, I could feel it. I can still feel the energy right now, man. But
yeah,
I'm glad you're having it, especially in Georgia. Shout out to Emily Blake that was on here a couple weeks back. She's got one coming up in Alabama or Oklahoma. I always get the two states mixed up. I'm sorry. She's gonna kill me. Oklahoma. But I feel like every state should have one, because it reframes the perspective to the public, and it says also to those that are across the aisle, oh wow, second chances are valid. It takes away the excuses, and it says people do come home and are successful. So yeah, salute to you. Salute to when I heard you, I was like, yeah, that's amazing. And then salute to you, with Mr. Scott, everything that's going on right now. I want to make sure before we hop on here, people can contact you, because you got a lot going on.
Okay.
But We See You, React, everything else. Can you please make sure, or can you put your information, just let everybody know where they can contact you and reach you?
So, of course, Facebook. Let's Talk with Ana, or you can find me under Lunchtime with Ana, because I'm in transitioning the name to Let's Talk with Ana. Lunchtime with Ana. You can find me on TikTok, Lunchtime with Ana. Instagram, Lunchtime with Ana. But it would be under Ana Quinoñes, A-N-A, last name Quinones, Q-U-I-N-O-N-E-S. And I'm trying to think, my phone number, 321-252-9334 or 404-632-8456. either of those two business lines would be great. So just contact me, text me, or whatever. And like I said, a lot of times if the families call me and I don't get right to you, give me some time. I will get to you. I promise. And if I can't handle your case, I have other activists that we work very close together, and it might be more on their avenue of what they do. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, advocating together and doing it together as a team. And if you're not a part of the team, then, you know, we can't get anywhere, you know. So we talked about this, Chris. I'm real big on that, you know, teamwork. We have to do it.
Yeah, I'm big on teamwork. Less ego in 2024 to my advocates.
That's right.
I'm out loud. I'm really big on that. I call it out, y'all.
Especially here in Georgia.
Yeah, well, not just, I don't want to single out, but it's an unfortunate thing that sometimes people are more focused on their own agendas than the greater overall purpose. And I'll continue to be a voice just like you, anybody else. Show up and be here for the right reasons. It's not a photo op. My man, Dr. Barber, but it's more than a photo op. It's real work being done. It's real sacrifice. It's sleepless nights. I got up at 3. It's 7:49. I got to get back up at 3. I got about 2 hours of research to do after this. It's not for the weak. So salute to the strong. You know, salute, like she said. I say to the good guys. Because we are making an impact. Salute to the Commonwealth of Virginia, not to the Commonwealth, but to the brothers and sisters out there, because they are pushing policy and shifts are occurring and changes are occurring. And I hope everybody's paying attention, especially my brothers and sisters down here in Georgia, because we can do the same thing. Anna, final words for this conversation. I'm sure you'll be up here again. Just last words, any advocates to the world, or jewel, or message, whatever, 30 seconds, whatever you need people to know, want people to know.
You know what? No matter what, guys, do the right thing. I live by the right thing. Do the right thing. If you can sleep at night with whatever that was, and in your eyes, the right thing, do the right thing. And I love each of you. I really do.
That's it. Peace to y'all, man. Thank you, Anna. Thank you.
Thank you.
We definitely, I look forward. I want to see if I can get you back up here in the future to talk about the other cases that you're fighting on. Definitely want you to be able to highlight that. And if you want to bring Mika up here, Mika, you can hop up here or whatever kind of invite to you. Some quick announcements I forgot. Shout out to Dr. Ellison with the Men Magnifying Manhood movement. And shout out to I'm going to butcher this, and this is horrible. Shout out to Walt Harris and the Retired Professional Players Association in Georgia. We're getting ready to do some partnerships and good things, man, out there in Gwinnett. Shout out to Dr. Stanley. Getting ready to do some things out in Clayco with the schools. If you want to become active, participate, you don't have to become a member of. If you just want to support what the Life Unit does, we do many things, especially in regards to the youth education. We do more pre-entry work when we can and re-entry. Reach out. The email is there. And again, if you want to reach out to Anna and maybe you didn't catch her information, you can DM me, email me. I'll make sure I connect the dots, because we want to make sure this continues to be a place of networking and growth. So again, salute to y'all. Salute to everybody that was commenting, still commenting. I'm going to make sure I get her number up there really quick and ramble for 13 more seconds.
Of them up.
You got one of them up there?
Yeah, I got the other one up now.
I'm going to put it back up there. Boom. That's the second one. Guys, information is in the chat. Remember, don't let the conversation die here. Let it keep going so we can keep going forward, man. Until next time. I think I'll be up here Thursday or Friday. Yeah, thank you, Anna. Thursday or Friday, our next guest is from Australia. We just had a guest from Germany. Now we're about to have a guest from Australia. Yeah, we global. No, so
that's right.
She's a fierce advocate over there with the 40 strong. So definitely getting ready to hear her voice. Shout out to Kirsten and all that. So I'll catch you guys up there soon, man. And if you want to be a part of the platform, reach out. Let's go. Peace.